with a lot of time, we can gather a lot of data. That's true. We have more data, we can take better decisions. But we're always constrained by our situations. So what is important is how do you prioritize within your constraints? This is one of the biggest learnings which we need to do as UX designers. If you don't prepare at all, then you'll ask random questions. You'll never be able to concentrate your research. The way that conversation goes, all these things are very important. In fact, let's say you start with a question and 45 minutes already only on one question it went. You should not allow that. You need to keep bringing back the conversation to as productive as it can be. It is not that you need to find out common issues. It's a big misconception. It was never written also that way. Your goal is not to find common issues because this is not a quantitative study. You cannot say 4 out of 5 people have this issue, therefore this is an important issue. You can't. Don't keep thinking of, okay, I will not be biased, I'll not be biased, I'll not be biased. I see a lot of that happening in a lot of groups. It's okay, be biased, it's cool, chill. You be biased, you make a mistake, it's okay, some data will come, corrupt data will come, you'll realize yourself. Becoming unbiased is a matter of practice, not about worrying. Do you act like a consultant or do you act like a product designer? A doctor consults a patient individually. The doctor has to do with your individual business. Like, what is your problem right now? I need to solve that. But as a researcher, let's say you're a person who has to create Dolo 650. You're not worried if some random Ankita or Kailash fever is sorted or not. But you want to research what their problems are, whether this will actually, when you go and test, you want to understand whether it is actually cured or not. So this will literally shatter a lot of people's questionnaires. But it's okay. I'll keep shattering you.
Like I just received feedback on my questionnaire. So I received 2 feedbacks. First one was that I need to ask more open-ended questions rather than specific questions.
Acha, how is that? Example?
Yeah, for example, like my area is kitchen. So I directly ask the user that do you have enough storage in your kitchen to keep like all stuff? So like this question should have been framed in a way that I should ask the user like how you place all your stuff in the kitchen. It should not have been directly like do you have enough storage? Second feedback which I received was that
it's the feedback is good, but the issue is not right. The issue with your question is not that it is specific. It's actually basically expecting your user to solve all the problem for you.
Okay.
Also, it is leading because you already want them to think that there is not enough storage space, or I should be having enough storage space.
Okay.
Or okay, the next one I'll not tell immediately, but anyway, so you are trying to make them think that storage is not enough, right?
Okay.
But then you can say that then should I not even talk about storage? No, it's not like that. You can talk about storage, but you have to frame your question in such a way that you don't give them indication whether you think it is enough or not enough.
Okay.
It has to come from them. If it's a problem, it has to come from them.
Okay.
Storage, because that's what you're talking about, right? Your kitchen, storage in the kitchen is the aspect you're taking, which you need to, right? That's how you will break down your multiple questions, because you have to break down the area into multiple areas, multiple interactions, multiple ways in which you can break down. You have to do that. Okay. Storage is one aspect you think is what you have to talk about, or else you can't even frame questions.
Yes.
Right? So storage is not going too specific.
Okay.
Storage is an aspect. You want to talk about it. Okay. You attach your own judgment to it, then that is when it becomes leading.
Okay.
If you say, do you have storage under the sink which can fit your dustbins? Now that's like a blunder. That is specific. Yeah. Okay. And that's too leading. Now, I mean, also they can say, yeah, I have, or I don't have. Then what is the insight you get from there? Right? So there's also one more mistake, which probably not you, but it will come over, is trying to frame a question in such a way that you just get a yes or a no, and then utilizing it as data, which means, do you have dustbins under the sink, which is enclosed in the storage area? User says yes. And what you'll do, you'll ask this question to 5 people, 4 people say yes, and you'll write it as an insight. That 4 people have this thing, or in fact, even worse, people ask like, you don't have dustbin in under the sink. People will say, yeah, we don't have. Then you write down the problem as people don't have dustbin under the sink.
Okay.
You got it?
Yes.
So, but what can you do? You can ask the question in this manner. That is, can we talk about how do you manage your waste?
Yes.
You can talk that. That aspect is what you can touch.
Okay.
You're not able to manage waste, right? No. You must be managing your waste very efficiently. No. You got the difference? Yeah? Anyway, what's the second point?
Second point was that the question needs to be based on a everyday experience, not the occasional experiences. Like the one question in my questionnaire was how frequently you deep clean your kitchen. So one of my group members, he suggested that the question should be based on everyday cleaning, not on the deep cleaning, because it is an occasional experience.
It's okay. What? For deep cleaning, people don't use products or what? They're
No,
coming
like,
with empty hands with no products or what? No, right? You have to understand one thing, guys. We are not solving, let's say, Anshika, you're interviewing the remaining people in your group. All of you listen clearly, guys. There's a very big mistake all of you will do. It's a good time that I reveal this. You're not solving their problems. Your idea, your goal is to build a product finally, which can be used in a space called kitchen by a large number of people. Note on all these words. Your goal is to create a product which can be used in the area given to you, which can be used by a large number of people. Okay. That means if you are, let us say, interviewing Ankita, okay, Ankita is just one resource for you to gather information. You have nothing else to do with Ankita. You are not solving for Ankita's kitchen.
okay.
You got it?
Yes.
So the difference is, do you act like a consultant or do you act like a product designer or a researcher? Okay, always remember the medicine doctor and medicine creator example. As doctor consults a patient individually. You have fever, he treats you. Okay, he or she, they'll treat you, right? The doctor has to do with your individual business. Like, what is your problem right now? I need to solve that. But as a researcher, as a person who creates medicine, let's say you're a person who has to create Dolo 650. You're not worried if some random Ankita or Kailash fever is sorted or not. But you want to research what their problems are, whether this will actually, when you go and test, you want to understand whether it is actually cured or not. But you're not individually worried about these people, unlike a doctor. You got it? That's the difference between being a researcher versus a consultant. So this will literally shatter a lot of people's questionnaires, this insight, but it's okay. I'll keep shattering you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, coming back to what I'm saying to you is your question about occasional experiences is absolutely not wrong.
Okay.
Because that is also a product which can be used in kitchen, right? It's not like the product needs to be an everyday use case.
Okay.
They should not tell you this. They can tell you, but you need not decide in this manner.
Okay.
You got it?
Yes.
You can decide how do you want to scope it. Do you want to scope your project towards only everyday use cases? You decide that. But the scoping part doesn't come here. I have ideally in bigger projects, you scope at every stage. When you ask questions, you scope. I only want to focus only on this particular part. And you ask questions. When you define problems, you also scope. I'll focus only on these problems. When you make solutions, you'll also scope. But here, since the project is a smaller project and I want you to practice, I'm asking you to scope only after you come with solutions and make a product. That is when I'm scoping it down and asking you to pick only one, right? But until then, just try and expand as much as possible and come with all different use cases and practice it.
Okay.
So what you ask is not wrong, everyone. Asking about occasional use cases is not wrong.
Okay.
What you can possibly do is, you can start off with a question in terms of, let's talk about deep cleaning. Do you deep clean your kitchen or not? Whatever. How is your kitchen deep clean?
Okay.
Yes, I do this. This is what happens. Then you can start asking them about the questions related to deep clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
Fine.
so much.
Yeah. Yes, Garima.
Hello, Anudeep. One of the feedback that I had received was I had too many questions and my interview used to be lengthy. Also, I used to ask certain questions about the family members and how they use the space, and also spaces that are associated with the main area that I'm focusing. Like if my area is dining area, my questions used to be relevant to living room and an extension of all the rooms that are associated with dining room, like kitchen and the attached spaces. So one of the feedbacks was that I might get diverted from the main area that I'm focusing on.
It's okay. Doesn't matter. Your questions can be literally about some Parliament of India also. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, are you building a product which can be used in the living room or not is the point.
Okay. No, but that makes the interview too lengthy, right?
I'll come to that point. Okay. You don't have infinite time. You have finite amount of time. So you need to prioritize what you want to ask, because if we have a lot of time, we can gather a lot of data, right? All of you understood this point. Please keep noting down all these things, guys. I have some 150 pointers which you can learn, which you will learn by the end of all this entire project. So, and probably we'll discuss more also. So for right now, I have documented 150 pointers, 150 mistakes which people can do as a part of this project and the correct ways of doing it. But also don't try to be like, hey, please give all the 150 list for me on the deep. I will now itself become an expert. It won't happen. Yeah. This is the only way to learn. Looking at the questions, getting answers, and keep getting those insights and keep tuning yourself. Yeah. Anyway, coming back, you have limited time. With a lot of time, we can gather a lot of data. That's true with the world. We have more data, we can take better decisions. Correct? but we're always constrained by our situations, the time, amount of time we have, the technology we have, the knowledge we have, right? All of these things, or the money you have, all of these things are actually limiting you. So what is important is how do you prioritize within your constraints. This is one of the biggest learnings which we need to do as UX designers, because it's our job is not just about creating ideal solutions. Our job is to find out the optimal experience within the constraints we have. That is our job, because we need to affect reality. No, we can't just create imaginary concepts and leave it. That becomes artwork, doesn't become design anymore. One of the fundamental principles on how design works is you having constraints and designing within the constraints. Now that you got the overall philosophy, you trickle down to this. You have limited time. So what can you do? What is something actionable which you can do? To all the people who have this issue of unlimited questions. Yeah, because you have questions related to your area, connections to that area, then go, like, what was your topic?
My area was dining. Yes.
Dining, okay. Now dining, if it placed in living room, dining if it is placed in kitchen, dining if it is not there, all these things you can think. You can think about dining table, not having dining table, sitting on the floor, sitting on the terrace. You can think about all these things also. It's fine. So all the people like you, what you need to do is, this is a good exercise. Do all that. Come up with 200, 300 questions. No worries. But ask only 10 of them.
Okay.
What I'm saying is prioritize. I'm not saying 10, whatever makes sense. Prioritize what you need to focus on. What is the best way you can utilize that 1 hour time which you have with other person. Someone is asking, is there a way to prioritize questions? You discover your own way. You decide. Because in nowhere anyone can decide your priorities. You need to understand what your constraints are and decide your priorities based on it. You take the decision. Everywhere it's the same. As a bigger designer and working in any company, small startup, anywhere, you have your constraints. And the constraints can be people's pressure as well. Your manager can be pressurizing you to pick something. That can also happen. Yeah. So any of these things can act as constraints, and you can prioritize based on. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Anudeep. The feedback was like the questions were, I had few questions where the answers were yes or no. And after
Okay.
the answer that the interviewee gave, then there were follow-up questions for that. So can we ask such questions is what I wanted.
You have follow-up questions, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
After
So firstly, point is you need to have conversations. That's written in your workbook also, right? You need to have conversations.
Yeah.
Your questionnaire is not about literally asking the questions which you have written over there. Your interview is not about literally asking the questions which you have written over there. Your interview is about getting answers. Last week also I told the same thing, right? Your interview is not about asking questions. It's about getting answers, right? So how is it that you can use your questionnaire to guide you to have conversations? If it includes guide for you to write down what are the follow-up questions you might end up asking, you can write that down. It's a guide. That's a trick. Your questionnaire is a guide, frankly speaking. Then you can say, oh, Anudeep, it's a guide. No, I'll just write down 3-4 aspects and I'll go directly in the interview. I'll wing it. That is also wrong. Because if you don't prepare at all, then you'll ask random questions. You'll never be able to concentrate your research. So you should go prepared, but that doesn't mean you'll only ask those questions. You'll have to customize the questions, the way you ask, the number of questions you ask, the way that conversation goes. All these things are very important. In fact, let's say you started with a question and 45 minutes already only on one question it went. You should not allow that. You need to keep bringing back the conversation to as productive as it can be. It's something which you have to do. One more point you should write. Some people, I'm sure, had interviews for 3 to 4 hours. Both of them nicely chit-chatting, talking about their life, problems. Goes on. They forgot that they're interviewing. Came back, hey, please, let's continue the interview. I have to write down some pointers, or else suddenly it will be on the back of my head. Yeah. Anyway, so you have to drive. You have to drive the interview. You keep driving the interview back, and you need to take control of how will you utilize that 1 hour time to gather as many insights as possible. It's also important. First point. Second point is, it's not necessary that you will drive, which is common, right? All of you, please note this point down. It's very, very important. It is not that you need to find out common issues. It's a big misconception. That's not your goal. It was never written also that way. Your goal is not to find common issues, because this is not a quantitative study. What do I mean by that? You cannot say 4 out of 5 people have this issue, therefore this is an important issue. You can't. 4 out of 5 is a number, right? It's a quantity. This 4 out of 5 is not enough proof to be presented as a quantitative insight. because 5 is not the number we'll use for research. We need as many number of people who can represent a sample set. It's very difficult also. For example, we conduct surveys as a quantitative method. We send surveys to thousands and hundreds of people who can represent our target group. We first target and find those people and then do a survey to a large number of people. Why? Because the larger the number is, the higher the validity of the quantity which you can get. If there are 1,000 people, then you can say 600 people out of 1,000 who are targeted have these things. Therefore, it is such a valid issue. You can't say 4 out of 5 had this issue, therefore it's a valid issue. Because who are these 5 people? How can they represent a large population? They don't. So therefore, all of you need to realize that what we are doing here is not a quantitative study. We can't utilize numbers. We can't quote people had this common problem. No. But all of you have to turn to understanding that this is a qualitative study. What does it mean? You are trying to get qualitative insights from your users. That means reasonings. You might get completely different insights from all 5 people. No overlap. Absolutely valid. You still got data for your research. You got this. Anudeep, some Sumit told this point, but nobody else told Anudeep. Therefore, it should not be most probably it's not a major issue. You don't decide major issue based on the number of people who is giving you that answer. Because if I give you a different group, all of them will also have that issue. If I put in another group, then nobody will have that issue. So what do? You're looking for as many different insights as you can get so that you can potentially solve very good problems, and you decide the impact based on how your interview, what is the situation and how much can it impact their lives, and of course later the business. Let us say, tell me one problem you identified, Purvika, from your interview. Did you conduct interviews?
Yes, I conducted.
Tell me one problem.
One problem was that they were not able to, like for example, like we have in a home office. So if they want to keep their notes like this, they did not have enough space to keep it right here. They had to move their book this side, keep moving. So that was one issue there.
Got it. Okay, fine. So we identified that there's not enough space for organizing books or anything on the table when you already have stuff which is already there on the table. Okay. This is an issue which you found. Okay. Whom did you get this insight from?
From Harish.
From Harish. Okay. Possibly, listen carefully. This is a very important concept and you will not get it also even after I tell it. You will still make the mistake and I'll still tell, but still it is an important concept. Okay, all of you listen. So from Harish, you identify this point. Now, this problem is no longer dependent on Harish. You have to remove that. This is a feedback point you got. This is an insight you got. That is a potential problem that can be solved. Right? Yeah. Now you don't attach Harish to it anymore. It doesn't matter if you're solving this problem to Harish. That everyone is clear. Now, how do you decide whether it's an impactful problem to solve or not? You decided based on the interview which you had with Harish. What is happening because of it? You can decide the impact. Now, if I tell you, then you will utilize the formula. You need to decide the impact based on how important is it for Harish for you to solve that problem. Or people like Harish, if that kind of problem is solved, it can literally do a lot to their lives. They would probably invest their money and time or whatever to buy a product which could potentially solve such a problem, thereby meaning some good business impact. These are the ways you can decide whether it's an impactful problem to solve or not. You do not have the capability to test the magnitude of a problem through quantity. You do not have that lens right now. You can't. So what do we do in real research? We pick these qualitative insights and we go to quantitative studies. We do a survey. We conduct a survey based on this insight and understand how many people really have this problem. Or we also get data from usage statistics. This happens only in real companies and you have money for doing this. Therefore, we're not talking about it right now. Because quantitative research takes a lot of money. It's not easy, right? It takes a lot of money and time. And generally, freshers don't do it because it's very difficult. There are surveys which you guys do also, but that is not for gathering data, but that is for gathering participants for you to target, for you to gather people whom you can target and interview. That happens in your next projects, for which you do a survey, but not to gather data. Okay, because gathering data is costly. Now, so you decide the magnitude of a problem or the impact of a problem based on what you understood from talking to these people and what you think can be the impact of solving that problem. Again, it's all your decision only. You can't say, no, then you are biasing. It has to come from the users. No. We are the designers. We take the calls. Also, one more thing, guys. Don't keep thinking of, okay, I will not be biased. I'll not be biased. I see a lot of that happening in a lot of groups. If I do this, I'll become biased. If I do this, I'll become biased. It's okay. Be biased. It's cool. Chill. becoming unbiased is a matter of practice, not about worrying. You be biased, you make a mistake, it's okay. Some data will come, corrupt data will come. You will realize yourself. Next project you change. You want to be, all of you want to become cricketers. Okay. First match itself, googly, perfect googly will throw. No, right? You'll try googly somewhere, some wide ball, no ball, everything happens. A +1, 6 also that guy. You'll realize. And next ball you'll throw better. All of you got this point? Yeah. I established the point very well. Yeah, right. You understood, it's clear.
Yes.
So this is not a quantitative study. This is a qualitative study. So one insight from any person can still be a valid insight, can still be a valid problem for you to solve. And you decide whether it is something that is impactful to solve or not. In fact, I'm not even giving you the option to decide that. I'm asking you to write down all the problems and all the solutions and then decide which solution to pick and go forward. That is when I gave you the scope. But your bigger projects, you keep doing this. You decide at every stage whether you want to go forward with it or not, based on how impactful do you think it is for the business and for the users. Yeah.